The Cleveland Cavaliers are up 2-0 on the Orlando Magic. We're going to talk about Jared Allen's continuing dominance, Donovan Mitchell trapping, blitzing, and where the series goes from here on today's Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarrell. Cleveland is up 2-0 on the Orlando Magic in their first round series, a 96-86 win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan, what is your big takeaway from the Cleveland win?
Physically speaking, Jared Allen took a very, very strong performance in game one and turned it up to an even higher level in game two. And he ended up tying in terms of just like rebounding and crashing the glass and just maybe owning the fact that he is shying away from what he said last season and just kind of said it's not a motivator, but at least playing better than last year. But he has been phenomenal in this series, and he took it to another level. He ended up tying Brad Daugherty for the most rebounds in a single playoff game for the Cavs, 20. He was one shy of tying Kevin Love's overall franchise record, and Allen just really ramped up what the Cavs needed from him in terms of just breaking down what the Magic threw. Like, I started this game again with Jonathan Isaac at center, and you saw them shy away from it entirely with them going with a mixture of Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Wagner in the second half, but mostly Mo Wagner until Wagner fouled out of the game. But this has been really encouraging. I mean, if you're like a Jared Allen naysayer, you kind of have to eat some crow on this one, but he has really stepped up to the task, and it's something he's done all season. But golly, when the games matter most, he is really stepping up and standing up for the Cavs and just being a very high-impact player.
Yeah, and I think him and Mobley in tandem, if you could just look at Mitchell and say that's the best player in the series, that's the MVP of the series, there's going to be a really strong argument, I think, for those two bigs. Number one, Orlando at the rim just they remain lost inside the paint. 48% at the rim in this game for Orlando on 36% of their shots. They were dreadful in game one. They were dreadful again in game two. And for a team that doesn't really know like a other way to score the ball effectively, that's a really big deal. The rebounding has also been great. Allen is a big part of that. He's been uber physical. Look, to his credit, the Mo Wagner thing, Mo Wagner being chippy as all heck, Jared Allen responded to that. Jared Allen didn't get punked by that. He was in the fight in that sense, in a way that, like, credit to him. He deserves credit for that. He's setting if Mitchell is the official kind of tone setter because he's Donovan Mitchell, I think everything else is emanating from Allen and it's emanating from Mobley and what those two guys are doing inside to really shut off what Orlando is doing. This is a defensive series. Those guys are the anchor of what's working defensively and on the glass.
I think you hit the nail on the head, too, by saying, like, Mitchell was the guy who's emanating the offensive flow. I think he's just the tone setter in general in these first two games, whether it was game one with the passing and obviously just the high arcing three-point shot he made when he was triple teamed, or in this game where he was more or less responsible for all of Cleveland's points for maybe the first 4 or 5 minutes in this game. Like, he got them rolling offensively to at least build that lead. And then Allen settled in defensively and kind of found some footing there. It's actually interesting that settled in. I didn't even think of it like that, but Allen did share post game, like, compared to last year to this year, like, he feels much more comfortable out there on the floor. He feels very much more comfortable on what he needs to do defensively and has a firm understanding of it. And maybe still JV Bickerstaff challenging him and Evan Mobley to really step up in this series leading up to it with their practices and stuff played a part too. But Allen, he has just been the most consistent threat, especially just on defense, and what is turning into a very murky, mucky series. But Allen is the reason why they're holding Orlando to 84.5 points per game, because he's just eliminated not any and all, but most second chance opportunities. He has been consistently crashing the glass and just like being an outlet for Cleveland just to kind of grind it out on defense. And then Mitchell and company, and Allen too, I think he deserves some credit for what he's done physically on the interior. Have done more than enough to kind of keep the Cavs more than arm's length away. against Orlando. And like, this is the first time I read this on the way home since 2017-18. Led
You
a
reading? Are
team.
you reading while driving?
I was reading in the garage as I was waiting to pull out that since 2017-18, this is the first time the Cavs have led wire to wire in 2 consecutive games. And yeah, I think Jared Allen has been a big catalyst behind that.
Eyes on you, brother. Looking safe driving out here. Look, I think the other part of this with Mobley too, so I just want to hit on him, is that I think what he's doing offensively in this series is really interesting. Took 4 threes in this game. Only made 1, but he took 4 and is like willing to take them. 5 of 13. He's struggling offensively in the series. Pretty much everyone is struggling offensively in this series.
Unless it's Allen who gets like really efficient looks at the basket to begin with.
Yeah, and then even Allen, like in this game, like 6 of 10, pretty low volume, but like left 4 points on at the line. Like he's even like leaving some points there. Obviously, Mobley is like he took 9 free throws in this game. That only happens when you're aggressive. That only happens when they're emphasizing you. Him and Allen led the team in free throws attempts in this game. That is notable to me that those guys are driving a lot of what's going on there too. And one thing I think that worked for Cleveland, particularly in the first half, was those guys were getting free. Like the Magic at times looked a little bit scrambled when Jalen Suggs, went out with an injury for a couple minutes, and this game like felt like it was going to go one direction. The Magic looked a little bit frazzled. I thought they looked a little bit out of sorts. Cleveland responded really well. Cleveland did good work there, I think, to kind of take advantage of Orlando just looking a little bit out of it. And a lot of times the rotations were getting busted. They're getting dunks at the rim. Cleveland doesn't end up super efficient at the rim either, but in a series like this, the 57% the Cavs shot at the rim, like 9% better than Orlando on pretty similar volume. Like that's due to Allen and Mobley. I think, showing some growth as an offensive player, and like that's an edge in a series where offense and points are really hard to come by.
And you're pretty right on Mobley too. Like, it hasn't been awesome offensively. He didn't score in this game until the second half, but like you said, he is taking those 3-pointers. He's trying to show confidence in that shot. It's just something he has been continually improving on. He did share at shoot around before game 2 that like if he is wide open, he knows he needs to take and hopefully make those shots. So like the fact that he's kind of rewired his coding a little bit scoring wise, because he has been a guy that more often than not, like in pick and rolls or just like in most scenarios, like he rolls to the basket and tries to get a look on the inside, or just, make the pass just to somebody else who can maybe make the shot on the interior instead. He can act as a bit of a trailer, a guy who can be that safety valve if one of the guards or just, if one of the bigs are happen to be trying to attack the basket and they get walled off, they can kick it out to Mobley now, who can be a lot of a viable threat on the perimeter. So yeah, I think that's a great shout. I think defensively, he was great to start the game. He was pretty consistent all throughout defensively. I think he and Allen both have been, but like offensively, he really started to turn it on in the second half. Like it's the block shots, it's the playmaking, it's the shooting. You're starting to see like all these different threads start to coalesce into one solid fiber. And I'm interested to see what happens next. Like, does this sustain still? I think we have 2 games of it now. So you say, like, yeah, he is shooting threes. Does he continue to do it on the road? If he does, and he looks, comfortable just taking them make or miss, like another encouraging footnote in his development, and also just lets him be a difference maker, because there were a lot of possessions where Orlando was not defending him honestly on the perimeter, and he took them. He didn't shy away from it or pass. He tried to burn Orlando for it.
The last person thing we can shout out here is just having a standout game. We're going to talk a lot about Donovan Mitchell in segment 2, so we will get to him. But Isaac Okoro, I love that guy. That guy is a playoff. That guy is a 16-game player. He is tough. He isn't taking shots. He is mucking it up on defense and doing it all. That guy deserves the 25 minutes he's going to get. He should play more than Niang. He should at times, I think, get more than LeVert. Like, that guy is solid. He looks composed, and he had like a pretty darn good Isaac Okoro playoff game in game 2.
Yeah, considering how he looked last year against New York, or just, I think the Cavs looked against New York in general. It's always going to be our tent pole until maybe the Cavs move on from this series, of course. But like Okoro came in ice cold in that series against the Knicks, and I think that definitely played a part in his offensive rhythm, and also maybe limited him defensively too, just because he wasn't fully like up to snuff or speed physically either. But yeah, he was phenomenal in this game. I think defensively, he has brought it consistently for Orlando with just kind of sure, Orlando's guards aren't really known for attacking the basket, but like he's done a good job walling them off and preventing them from like attacking on the interior either, where they really thrive. And I think that's always to be expected with Okoro, but in a similar vein to Mobley, like a knock we've always had against Okoro, not just we, but anyone in general, is like, is he confident and comfortable taking 3-point attempts? Like, yeah, he looks pretty darn comfortable taking them make or miss tonight against Orlando. And for a guy like Okoro, if you find that momentum and rhythm and you continue to build upon it, like that's not just valuable in this series. Cleveland advances to the second round past the Magic, which I feel more comfortable saying they will after going up 2-0, but again, stranger things have happened. But like Okoro having that momentum in his pocket, yeah, justifiably speaking, like if they draw Boston in the second round and they need a guy to be a bit of a difference maker on the perimeter, Okoro can do that, all on top of giving like elite, all defensive for perimeter defense.
All right, after this, the Magic made a defensive adjustment in this game that the Cavs are absolutely going to see the rest of the series. It's something they saw last year and really struggled with. They struggled a little bit with it in this game. We'll get into blitzing and trapping after this. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Want to make mom smile? Start Mother's Day with flowers or surprise her with gifts from the brand she loves delivered the very same day with DoorDash. Pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. Is she a bookworm? Try a bookstore gift card. Does she love a good latte? Get a gift card to her favorite coffee shop. You can't go wrong. Get thoughtful gifts she deserves with the convenience you need. Choose same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead for when flowers and gifts should arrive to her door with DoorDash. Shop with savings that would make her proud. With Dash Pass membership, you'll save with a $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fee, apply. Terms apply. Get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place. And get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order with Locked In NBA. That's Locked In NBA. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go brings out that competitive side that all of us have enough sometimes. And the award-winning mobile app is now available on the App Store, Google Play. If you want to be competitive, if you want to unleash that inner competitiveness, you can do so with Monopoly Go. You can charge your friends rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly, and now you can heist their vaults for riches yourself, and the leaderboards show you who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. Again, you can team up with your friends or compete against your friends and people all around the world in timed tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, trapping and blitzing, Evan. Donovan Mitchell, I'm going to throw in just a very basic stat at you. Donovan Mitchell, 9 of 22 from the field in this game. 23 points, game high 23 points, which tells you what kind of series this is when this high score is 23 points in the Euro.
Neither team has broken 100 yet on either.
Yeah, the unders on FanDuel are pretty appetizing every game is all I would say there. Donovan Mitchell, 5 of 7 from the field in the first quarter, 2 of 3 from 3, 14 points. The rest of the way, 4 of 15. This really, to me, started with Orlando's going to blitz, they're going to trap, and they're going to say counter it. The Cavs did just enough against this defense to do so, and their early cushion, I think, certainly helped. But the offense, just point-wise, 30 in the first quarter, 28 in the second, 22 in the third, 16 in the fourth. It did just die a little bit. I think it does start with the blitzing and the trapping Orlando threw at them, and I think now it's on Cleveland to do something they haven't done very well before, which is counter that.
Yeah, they have not countered it very well. I think especially it's really hard to gauge like how can they counter it, or are they equipped to do so, because Darius Garland had 3 fouls in the first half, and
there's a guy on the bench that is the antidote for this. There's one obvious thing here you could do.
Karis LeVert.
No, it's Sam Merrill. It's Sam Merrill. Movement shooting.
I'm thinking in terms of ball handling at least, and just like if you're trying to supplement that, like you can also say the same for Max Strus, who's also struggled as well, just from putting up like scoring numbers, and something he admitted like he hasn't been good at, and something that both he and Niang need to do a better job of, on top of just maybe the impact like Strus has elsewhere and Niang provides elsewhere too. But neither here nor there. Yeah, Sam Merrill makes a lot of sense. Two did not play in game two whatsoever. Even despite wishes of the fans asking for Tristan Thompson when the Cavs were up big, JD Bickerstaff kept it close to the vest and played his guys until about 118 or so left in the game, and then started to call off the quote unquote dogs. But I just don't know how they can fully respond to the blitz, because Mitchell was getting by it after he had a first quarter scoring outburst where I think Orlando was kind of feeling things out, maybe just throwing Jalen Suggs at least the primary ball handler. Like Suggs took turns defending both Mitchell and Garland to open the game, and then like you started them going a bit more blitz heavy in the second half, especially, and it shut off Mitchell's water quite a bit. Like Mitchell had to work for every single one of his buckets, and like there were moments where like, yeah, you could really feel like the emotion coming from Mitchell too when it came to like some of the attempts he was trying his best to make. So yeah, I think it's hard to evaluate in the moment because one, they didn't play Merrill, but two, like Garland was dealing with foul trouble and was kind of unremarkable until about late in the third quarter, early in the fourth, when the Cavs really started to steamroll Orlando. So you can't know if that's like front running or not that Garland was doing. Yeah, I'm curious to see how maybe they respond to it in game three, because that is something they definitely struggled with against the Knicks, and something they clearly, at least in Mitchell, struggled with against in this game against Orlando. And I think obviously the difference between New York and Orlando is Allen and Mobley are making big difference comparatively to like what Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein and Josh Hart and others weren't allowing to do last year.
Yeah, I think to me the counter is Merrill can be a screener. You can use him to pop out. You can use him to like, teams will freak out at Sam Merrill in a way that they won't for Karis LeVert. They won't for Darius Garland. They won't for Max Strus. Like, he is like the one thing they have on the roster that they could use, I think, to break up these things pretty directly. It's a pretty tried and true method of attacking those, is just put in a movement shooter, use him as a screener, get creative. It is just outside the Cavs' comfort zone, but I think they should do it at some point. The other X factor would be Darius Garland. He didn't have like a great game by any means in this one. Some nice passes. When he's skipping and you can tell he's feeling it a little bit, you're like, okay, like at least like the energy is right. Like that Darius Garland skipping is a good thing.
When he got two Orlando defenders and like Mobley attacked from the weak side of that dunk, I'm like, ooh, that was a really good Darius Garland pass. Like that had some sauce on it.
Yeah, he had some nice moments that way, but he also hit two sidestep threes, at least one, I think two, in this game. 4-7 from three. Not good on twos, but if he's going to take threes and can make the Magic adjust to him over the course, if that continues, that's the other way to do this. But there are counters. They're just, Cavs have to do it. Some of it's out of their comfort zone. Their track record does not suggest that they're great at dealing with some of this stuff. And Mitchell, I think, has some of his warts can kind of pop up in this, but it's manageable. It's just, how do they attack it? That's my number one thing for game three.
I agree. I think Merrill makes a lot of sense, but let's just assume JB doesn't tap Sam Merrill's number. Like, I know he played him briefly in game one, not at all in game two, but do you think there's ways that the Cavs could creatively get Max Strus rolling a little bit more then? Just because like he can be that guy that the Cavs kind of need, just in terms of just that movement shooting to pick apart defense, in terms of just constantly moving, setting and relying on the bigs who are playing very physically and very well, using their off-ball, like their screening ability to create off-ball looks and opportunities. Do you think there's a path where Max Strus can be that guy? Or do you think they just need to call Sam Merrill's number and roll both Strus and Merrill in game 3, 4, beyond?
I think Strus can do some of it. I think him as a playmaker. I think him as like a secondary playmaker. I think him as a guy who will shoot. It's just the fear level with him is not there. Strus has the reputation of being like a really good shooter, but he's closer to like an average shooter.
I think that's fair.
Like Merrill is absolutely a shooter. You know, like that is just like they're both levers you can pull. They will give you different outcomes. Would be what I would say. Like one is like more like, I think in the Cavs wheelhouse, that is Strus. I think you could be more direct with him. Um, or that we could go. The other option is Merrill, like they already kind of minimized George Niang in this game. The defense was fine. I think you could get away with Merrill, and it would be cool. Like that would all work.
Yeah, especially if Okoro is playing so well, like you don't really have to worry about maybe. Also, especially with how much Orlando is switching in some of these matchups, like you don't have to worry too much about like Merrill maybe being exploited one-on-one and things too, because Cleveland going to be just as comfortable switching too and forcing Okoro, no guy that maybe is trying to attack Merrill at the basket. And also just like Orlando's so bad offensively that I think they can afford to take away a lifeline Orlando has defensively to keep them competitive in some of these games.
Yeah, and like if Cole Anthony's attacking Sam Merrill, like whoop-de-doo. Cavs are, I think, they're cool with that ultimately. All right, after this, where does the series go from here? Cleveland is up 2-0. They're in control. Is there any way Orlando comes back? What are you looking for in Game 3? That's coming up after this. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. It is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I'm going to flip this. Evan, I'm putting you on the spot. Tell me something that's on your mind that you just need to get off your chest.
Do you want the honest answer, or do you want to keep it sports?
I mean, I want the one that fits the tone of the ad read, Evan.
How will the Cleveland Cavaliers respond to the blitz? I'm gonna lose sleep over it tonight, man, just because it's a very valid NFL defensive strategy depending on the matchup, and clearly maybe JB Bickerstaff should call Kevin Stefanski or the fine folks at BetterHelp to maybe help him solve this unsolvable mystery.
Sometimes we all need to get something off our chest. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Cavs up 2-0 in this big position of strength. Orlando can't really score. The Cavs, not the most efficient offense, but they're scoring noticeably more effectively than Orlando is. They're rebounding well. I mean, I guess, Evan, do you feel like the Cavs are in control of the series after 2 games? Where do you stand on that?
I would believe so, but, I do believe in the sports cliche, anecdote, whatever the heck you want to call it, that the playoffs don't really start until the road team wins. So if Cleveland wins Game 3 Thursday night in Orlando, I think, I certainly feel much, much better about the chances, whether like Orlando plays for pride and doesn't give up easily in Game 4, and then the Cavs take care of business in 5, or if this goes to 6 or whatever, which was kind of my initial thought. Was like, oh, okay, I think it'd be Cavs in 6 in this one, but if we'll see how Cleveland handles how things go in Game 3, just because like Orlando does have a pretty underrated crowd. They will be loud, they will be obnoxious, they will be trying to badger the Cavs and trying to maybe the Magic, at least like they are a good home team, can kind of ride maybe some of that home crowd momentum and home favor just to maybe get them right and everything. But like physically speaking, yes, the Cavs are dominating the Magic. Jackson Flickinger shared with me after Game 1 the vibes in the post-game presser, just whether it was from Jamal Mosley or the players that spoke, were pretty similar to just based on what you could see or interact with in Game 1 after the Cavs last year against the Knicks. And he said tonight, after they wrapped up Game 2, The Magic all spoke within 20 minutes. The Jamal Mosley and the 2 or 3 players they brought out, and they were very brief, very short. They said to figure this out. You can tell there's a lot of clear frustration on their side, and I think, yeah, all the momentum is in Cleveland's corner. You don't want to assume like it's going to be a for sure thing, but yeah, they are riding the momentum well. And if they win Thursday, I'll say like, yeah, I think this one's going to be a sweep or at least a 4. I think they win this in 5, but I think at least for now, like, yeah, Cleveland has to feel pretty good about themselves because they just outright dominated Orlando at times. What about you?
Yeah, I think they're in control. I think Orlando's going to get at least one game back. Like, I think their defense is good. I think them being at home will help. I think there's just a game where they'll probably get a little lucky from 3. Like, that's just kind of how this works. Like you just shoot better at home and you figure it out and maybe turn the ball over less at home. I think the concern is just what I think we identified, or at least I think I identified after game 1. It's just what are their counters as far as generating good offense. I don't know what those are. Like Banchero is. I love Banchero. I think him being tasked as a primary creator for others in a playoff series right now is a lot. What Franz Wagner's 2 of 4 from 3 tonight. It's been a really tough year from him from 3. You're not getting a lot of offense other places. Like, you got a 4-7 from 3 night from Gary Harris, and he plays 35 minutes on your team, and you just, like, that's 4 of the 9 threes you made. Like, I don't really know what this team is supposed to do offensively, aside from just, like, have some better luck from 3 certain games. But the Cavs are playing really well. They're answering, I think, all the questions you would have had about them coming into the series so far. Where it goes after this is like, a whole other question, I think, and where what this team is. But I think for this series, Cleveland feels in control. They're answering to me every question I would have had about how this is going to look. And it starts with Allen. It starts with Mobley. Mitchell's a big part of it. There's certain things I think they could get better at too that could maybe make this go quicker. But I think this series is going to look like this. Whether it ends up in 6 or 5 or whatever, I think these games are going to largely look like this the rest of the way, and I think Cleveland seems equipped to just get through this and move on.
Yeah, I think Cleveland is equipped to ride the storm defensively, continue to grind the Magic into dust. Orlando is not a good 3-point shooting team. Like the rebounding margin is so stark. Friend of the program, Spencer German, was crunching the numbers post game. Like the Cleveland starters are out rebounding Orlando starters 91-40 right now. Like the Cavs are beating up on the Magic quite a bit, and it's the NBA. You can always play for pride. The narrative can shift because there's several days off between now and Thursday that both can kind of either recollect and lick their wounds, or maybe continue to feel good about themselves if it's like the Magic or the Cavs. We shall see. I agree with the assessment though. Like the Cavs are equipped defensively to handle the Magic, and I think offensively they have the firepower, even if they Magic out right away blitzing Donovan Mitchell and try to mitigate him right away. I think the Cavs getting more from their team side of Mitchell is really encouraging. And then, honestly, if you want to get real nitpicky with it and nitty gritty, you hope maybe to see Cavs respond to those blitz scenarios, especially just with like Darius Garland. Like there were moments, like you said, like he's pulling up from 3 in step back formats, and he's kind of, galloping a little bit when he's like moving the rock and kind of like moving the offense to the way he likes to. Like those are opportunities for him to kind of showcase, like, 1, this tandem is viable between him and Mitchell in the postseason, and 2, like when defenses zero in on Donovan, Darius is able to stand up and carry the slack. And then obviously you hope they refine that harmony, but at least playoff wise, like that will be kind of something I want to take a bigger look at, because Orlando's going to go down swinging at this point. Like if they're down 2-0, like they have to give their very best in game 3, because the 3-0 deficit's just like near impossible to climb out of, but not completely impossible. But like they're going to probably give Cleveland their very best in game 3, and then they win. Yeah, they'll keep swinging. If not, like in game 4, the Magic will go down swinging and try to get like physically their very best, on top of maybe just the emotional toll of dropping 3 games in a row and being held to 85 and then 86 points per game has taken on.
We're going to end there. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarrell. Thanks again to Jake Stevens. As always, back at you Thursday ahead of Cavs Magic Game 3 as the series shifts to Orlando. Talk to you then. Check out Locked On Magic if you're so inclined as well. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the hoops.